Today we're gathering around the campfire with Marino, a QHS member whose life is as exciting and grounding as a hike through the mountains. But what trails did he tread to reach these heights? Let's trek into the wilderness and discover the adventures that led Marino to where he is today.
Hello, my name is Marino, and this will be my prequel for quantum healing systems. I would like to start with a note that I've been here from the early days of quantum healing systems. We were one of the first 500 to join when that initiative was started. So my background is that I come from an Italian-American family. My grandparents came over from Italy, and the rest, my parents and the rest of the siblings were all born in this country. On my father's side, my grandparents came into Boston Harbor and migrated down to Manhattan, where I believe they lived down on Mulberry Street, and because that's where my father was born, in a kitchen in Mulberry Street. My mother's side, the family came over through Ellis Island, and I think settled in both New York's, the city areas, and Pennsylvania. Growing up, we were subject to the traditional Italian, a lot of food, heavy food, good food, a lot of family, a lot of friends, a lot of parties. The big events of the year were always Christmas and Easter. That's when we did the really big holiday stuff in our family. We basically had two families for me growing up. I have three siblings above me, which are 6, 8, and 10 years older. And I have a sister that's just, I believe, 2 years, 2 years younger than me. So by the time we got to about 12 years old, 13 years old, the other siblings were out of the house. And so it was basically just them and us. We came over from Brooklyn. My family all grew up in Brooklyn. They're all from Brooklyn, Manhattan area. My father left there in 1956. Came to northern New Jersey, where he settled in a town called Closter, which is near Alpine, not far off the George Washington Bridge. So I grew up in suburbia in New Jersey, where all my other siblings and my parents all grew up in the city lifestyle. So me and my sister. So it was almost like two separate families at that time. My parents were very good. They were very loving. My father worked a lot. He had a business in Brooklyn. So they had a very hard commute back and forth until he retired in the 80s. My parents were traditionally a lot of hands-off. You got to do it yourself, figure it out yourself. Hence, by the time I got out of high school and had to educate myself for college, I didn't have any resources to do that. I had to fund anything I did myself when it came to that. So like I said, I was born in 1957. I ended up graduating high school in 1976 and got married in 1984. My passion has always been in science, math, just a lot of intuition and a lot of dreaming on my side. I will get into what happened. I think probably one of the biggest traumas in my life was the school system, which really didn't help me. But I guess between my parents' do-it-yourself attitude and being slighted in the school systems, it really pushed me to move forward with my life. So the biggest problems I had back in those days. Now, let me just prefix that by that it was really good life in the 60s, because I grew up in the 60s, and I remember not being happy when we were switching from 69 to 70, because at that age I was sensing that the world was getting real ugly and turning. It was the end of the 60s. It was all the hippie movement was going on and going into the 70s, which my intuition in that turned out right. So when I got into 6th grade, they started doing a lot of experimenting in the schools. And if your grade point average wasn't where they wanted it to, or you struggled just a little bit with certain topics, they would push you and move you into all kinds of other programs. So they took me basically out of English They wouldn't let me take any foreign language classes. I did, however, get to take chemistry and those kinds of classes. But they used to send me down in the basement, and I had to watch these projectors instead of going to English class and learning that. So by the time I got to high school in 1972, I had a weak background in English because they took it away from me in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Because of the grade point average stuff, they didn't do a lot of math stuff, even though I was real good in my chemistry classes back in those grades. So my first 2 years, I kind of struggled a little bit. I tried to take Italian. That didn't work out too good. I struggled a little bit with English. I struggled with some of the math, which turned out to be the teachers and not me. I found out later in life. So after my second year, they talked my mother into kicking me basically out of high school and putting me into this vocational school. And that's where I learned a lot of the skills of, they gave me auto mechanics, horticulture, carpentry, masonry, computers was in there. And that's where I started really getting a deeper love for computers. In high school, we had a teletype machine, and it was me and 2 other guys figured out, and I wrote a whole baseball game in this, and it would transmit it over to a Hewlett-Packard system somewhere else, and it would come back on this little teletype machine with the punch tapes. So early on, back in 72, I was really getting into the computer industry and this technology. So then after high school, the way high school was structured for me, it was free will to do whatever you want, so SATs were optional for us at the time during those years, so I ended up not taking the SAT test, and I had nobody mentoring me or pushing me to do it. So after high school, I became an auto mechanic. Now, this is going to be, I'll give you a brief summary of my career, which is a lot of elements to it. So I became an auto mechanic, and after about 5 years of that, I decided I really wanted to pursue my passion. So I got myself into a 2-year engineering school for microprocessor design. I started taking programming languages for assembler. Back at the time, it was Pascal and COBOL. So I was doing all that kind of stuff, and I tried to get myself into Rutgers to continue my engineering degree in microprocessor design, but they wouldn't let me in because I didn't have SATs. So I went back to the high school. I walked in cold, tried to take the SATs, but didn't score high enough for them. So I ended up getting a job with Burroughs Corporation. I worked on mainframe computers, and I did that for about 5 years until the PC industry started to develop and to be born. And Apple had their computer out, IBM was coming out with their PC. So I jumped out of Burroughs and I jumped in to started my own business. And basically my business took me from 1984, the year I got married. I quit my job, of course. So it took me from 84 probably till about 2001 before I really walked away from all the computer stuff. So over those years, I started out doing repairs, building computers, programming the computers, used to do all kinds of programming. I got big into forensic auditing with accounting, right, because I was writing accounting systems at the time, designing and building networks. I started designing and building networks before Novell, and then Novell came around, and then they invented Ethernet, and it just progressed over the years doing that. I ended up getting out of that business. These guys talked me into helping them take their company public. I became the IT director for this company and the finance director, and I helped them build this company up and take it public. I left there when they got to be about a $20 million company. That's a whole nother story and be a whole nother video for what went on with that. And then I jumped around with different companies. I went to a distributor company. I ran their finance and IT department. And then I got into one more venture, which was another IT company. And in 2001, that ended along with the towers that came down. And I decided I'm getting the heck out of the computer industry, and I walked away from it. I kind of got burnt out from that. Got myself into selling real estate, doing construction projects, home improvements. Then the banks talked me into doing inspections for collateralized loans. And then from there, the banks talked me into doing these housing inspections for HUD, which I ended up doing for about 10 to 15 years. And then after that, I got tapped and I jumped on it to take a commissioner. I'm an election commissioner now for a county in New York. So that's what I've been doing the last 8 years, is this commissioner thing, and that's hopefully going to end in the next 2 to 4 years. So that's my career path. I did a lot of different things, a lot of technical, hands-on things. So, and it's been a lot of fun. Not a lot of money for me, but a lot of fun. To get into some things for medically. Back when I was in the teenage years, my mother made them put braces on me. They were the old braces with the metal wrapped around your teeth, and then they had those wires that would stick out of your mouth, and they'd have to snip them. So I had them on for supposed to be 1 year or 2 years, and it went for 3 years or maybe a little more. I can't remember now. But basically, when they took them off, I had all kinds of problems under my teeth. There was rot. So I went through years and years of cavities, of root canals, of all kinds of stuff going on with my teeth, with caps, crowns. I lost one tooth not that long ago. I never did the implant on it. I'm kind of holding off on that, waiting for the QArc to see if that can solve that problem, so I don't have to put more foreign material in me. Another big event that I had was in my 20s. Used to play tennis a lot. I thought we had tennis elbow. I ended up having a tumor, which they called an osteoma. You could see the scar here. It was a nice long scar. They took a square inch out of my right radius, and they left a sliver there, and I wore a cast for 6 months on that arm until the bone healed up. So I lost a little bit of range. I can't hyperextend my arm now in the elbow on that. And the last medical trauma that I could say I had was in 2019 when I got sick. It was like flu-like symptoms. I had a high fever. I got home. They had to take me home from work because I was shaking. I was shivering too much. And I went to the doctor. They put me on antibiotics, which made me really sick. Then they gave me another antibiotic, which made me really sick. And then a third one, which made me sick. But they did this all over the phone. No testing. All they said is I had a UTI infection. And so after about a week of this, I went back to the doctor and I wouldn't leave, and they were getting annoyed with me until they came up, at least tested me for something or did something for me, because I was still shivering, shaking. I had high fevers for a week. And they gave me a prescription to get blood work, and they sent me on my way. When I went to give the blood work, I was shaking so much they could barely get the blood. So I had my wife drive me to the hospital, and I checked in, and it turns out what had happened was they never really treated the infection right. It went septic. It put stressed out my kidneys. My creatinine level went up to 5.6. They told me if I go over 6, they're going to put me on dialysis. Thankfully, it started creeping down after it hit the 5.6, 5.8 area. And then I eventually recovered from that. They did do a TURP on me, which they went in and cleaned out the prostate, scraped it out, because I think it all started with maybe my prostate was getting inflamed or swollen, or something was going on, and they were thinking that the infection came out of the prostate, and why I ended up with this UTI. So after that, that really pushed me over the edge to give up on the medical industry. After, in my opinion, they tried to kill me and completely misdiagnosed me. So ever since then, my lifestyle is more of probably 80% fruits and vegetables and 20% everything else. I do not eat any red meat. I never really liked red meat because it constipates me. So it's mostly fish, chicken, fruits and vegetables. I try and stay away from the breads the best I can. For medicines, I try to go 100% holistic when I can. I really don't take anything. It's very rare that I'll take a Motrin or an aspirin. The only pill I have right now is a small dose of this amlodipine stuff for blood pressure, which I plan to ditch soon. I got rid of 2 pills they tried to give me, I took for a short time, so I'm just left with this one pill. So I will say since 2019, by changing my diet and my whole lifestyle to get healthier and pay more attention and do a lot more research into this, and between that and Q quantum healing systems, I am for sure on the upswing with this. And some of the things that I would like to see, I have a little bit of an issue with my left foot. I strained it at one point, crawling around in the mountains with my son doing his chicken farm stuff. So I'd like that to get that to finally fully heal, which it hasn't truly healed yet. I'd like to get all my tooth issues straightened out and back in order, so my mouth is in much better shape. I'm looking for my eyes to get back to 100% vision. I used to have a vision where I could see an ant a mile away on the road, so that's declined over the years with age. I am 67 right now. So the eyes are a big thing that I want to fix. And basically the way I look at it is the elasticity in the eyes is probably degrading, and that's probably what the blood pressure stuff is with the elasticity in the veins. So I want to normalize my blood pressure, get more youthful energy, and just continue to work on getting any kind of aches and pains out of my joints. I would like to add just one more element. I am married for about 40 years now. Got married in 84. Do have 2 children, in a boy and a girl in that order. My daughter does have 3 kids, so I got 3 grandkids. And as far as quantum healing devices, currently I am using 2 V6 devices, and I'm using the touch device right now. I'm waiting on my V9 and my home healing system at this point. Thank you. Just wanted to add that.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.